side of politics?
Well, there's definitely a polarisation of views when it comes to energy and climate policy, and that's bedevilled the parliament for some 15 years, Kieran. The energy market today is not working as it should to deliver for consumers. Prices are too high and reliability is being called into question. What we need is a workable, practical, market-based solution, which is the National Energy Guarantee. It ends the subsidies. It puts a premium on reliability, it drives prices down, and it integrates energy and climate policy. And I'm hoping we'll get the support of the states and territories, Coalition and Labor at the upcoming meeting, because this is our best chance of driving a consensus in this important area and getting the market working again.
There was a consensus briefly. It was fractured, of course, with the rise of Tony Abbott's leadership and that internal turmoil within the Liberal Party. Now, are you saying enough's enough? Do you have to have some sort of bipartisanship here in order to attract the, I think it's $200 billion is the figure that you refer to by 2050, $200 billion needed in terms of spending in this space by 2050?
Well, the carbon tax was the wrong approach. It was a penalty on families, it was a penalty on businesses, and it would have hurt our international competitiveness if it had stayed. So we did the right thing in abolishing it. In fact, we saw the biggest drop in electricity prices on record as a result of that. But what we now need...
But also, prior to that, you had the carbon pollution reduction scheme. That's what I was talking about in terms of being on a unity ticket, for at least for a brief period. But that ended, and we've seen many years of fighting since.
We have seen many years of policy paralysis in this area. With the National Energy Guarantee, we have the advice from the independent experts, and we have a model that has been heralded by not just the energy producers, but also by the big energy users, the companies that employ millions of Australians, the BlueScopes, the Rio Tintos, the BHPs, the Dow Chemicals, the Farmers Federation, other groups who have got behind the National Energy Guarantee as a way forward for our country. I think it's a sensible way forward, it's practical, and it's certainly in the interests of the public.
You and the Prime Minister and many others have been critical of Tony Abbott's idea of a nationalisation of Liddell if they don't agree to keep it open. In relation to the position on that and the idea of building a new coal-fired power station and others, beyond the merits of the policy, would you also say that a lot of your colleagues don't understand or aren't recognising the need to have constancy in terms of support of the government of the day? Because if you did go down that path, Labor wins the next election, which the polls suggest they will, well, that all goes up in smoke anyway. They're going to end both of those courses of action.
Kieran, I think my colleagues do understand the issues at play and how important it is to deliver a reliable, constant, consistent policy. I think they do.
But you say we started a taxpayer-funded coal-fired power station. Labor wins the next election, they'd end it. Even if they won the election after that, they'd end it. Well, because it takes, what, 8 years to build one?
Well, it does take more than 5 years, so it's not going to send down prices today. But what we do need is to get the investment signals right for the market to make those decisions. Now, we have 20 coal-fired power stations in Australia. Their average age is 27 years. What we've seen from the market is a greater willingness to upgrade existing coal-fired power stations rather than to build new ones, because there would be large questions about the utilisation rates, the return on capital, as you say, climate risk, with successive governments coming in of a different political persuasion. All those issues...
That's why bipartisanship is so important on this issue, isn't it? You need some level of agreement here.
A settled policy. We differ from the Labor Party greatly on their recklessly high emission reduction.
But you need a settled framework, don't you?
We need a settled framework. That's the key, because the market hasn't been working as we would like. And the reason why that has happened is because it's had to deal with this new variable of emissions reduction. Renewables have come in and challenged the existing business models. If we get the National Energy Guarantee right, we will send the right investment signals so that that $200 billion worth of infrastructure spending that's required in the energy system out to 2050 comes from the private sector. Government can't meet that cost.
No. No, well, unless you're going to nationalise the whole system, but $200 billion is a lot of money.
The Greens would love to nationalise the system, and you know what that would be a recipe for? Higher prices, less stability, and certainly high taxes.
But as you said, you've got disagreements with Labor in terms of emissions targets and so on. But this National Energy Guarantee and the framework enables a government of the day to either toughen up requirements or reduce them. But at least you've got the framework then.
And it's critical.
That's the point?
The key point here is that, one, it puts a premium on reliability, which has been missing. So in South Australia, Kieran, you saw a lot of wind and solar come in without sufficient backup. That can't occur under the National Energy Guarantee. And secondly, it integrates energy and climate policy, so it sends the right investment signals to the business community, who are the ones who need to build these power stations or invest in these distribution and network.
Well, how do you convince Tony Abbott and those of like-minded views on coal when it comes to building a new facility or acquiring it by the federal government that these things don't work on a 3-year time frame? You can't do it on a 3-year time frame.
Certainly don't. Well, what I'd say to Tony Abbott and my other colleagues is coal has a future in Australia. Bill Shorten says it doesn't. There's a big point of difference here. Coal is important as a reliable baseload source of power. But the best chance to keep our coal-fired power stations going for longer is to have a proper regulatory market-based framework. That's what the National Energy Guarantee does, and as a result, prices come down.
When you look at the subsidies of renewables, basically that's been one of the criticisms of the energy and climate response from our government. That was agreed to and continued by the Abbott government. You're saying now that they're going to end, that they're not needed, basically, beyond the current cycle, but they will stay in place, won't they, at least until 2030?
Well, the renewable energy target is legislated to 2030. There's a large-scale target, and there's also a small-scale scheme.
Can you get rid of it? Can you just end it?
It's built
as many of them are arguing?
It's built into legislation. The issue that I've said publicly before is companies have made investments based on an understanding of the certificates they will get and the subsidies they will get. Those investments are pretty much made now. It's 33,000 gigawatt hours for the large scale.
So it'd be a sovereign risk issue if you were to remove that now.
We're not changing that target because it's critical that large scale investment that has been committed continue to go through, because ultimately more supply will mean lower prices over time. But you're right, there has been an enormous amount of subsidies, and those subsidies have created a lot more renewables in the system than may otherwise been the case. But the price of renewables has now come down to the point that it's cost effective, and what that means is that you don't need more subsidies for renewables or coal.
What's the status of the negotiation with AGL? Will you give any update on that in terms of where to with the Liddell coal-fired power station?
Well, this all goes back to the advice we received from the independent Australian energy market operator. They said, were Liddell to close in 2022 and there wouldn't be that further investment in the market, there would be a shortfall of 850 megawatts in dispatchable power. That's power available on demand regardless of the weather. That would lead to a heightened risk of blackouts. Now, we also had the head of the ACCC, Rod Sims, said that if Liddell was sold to a third party, you would see competition up and prices down. That's a pretty compelling case as to why it's in the public interest for Liddell to go beyond 2022. Now, Alinta is the 5th largest integrated energy company in Australia. They have made it clear they're interested in acquiring this asset and to continue it.
And is AGL interested in selling?
Well, AGL have a fiduciary obligation at a board and management level to properly consider an offer that comes in.
Are they doing that?
Well, Alinta has said that they will put in their indicative offer before the end of the month, after which they hope to get in to see the books, do the due diligence, firm up their offer, and of course we would hope that the two parties could reach an amicable commercial negotiation.
And do you think that they're open to it though, AGL? Is that the sense you're getting? You talk to them, you talk to Andy Vesey and the chairman. Are they open to it?
Well, they should be. They should be, because that's in the public interest. If they don't want to run it beyond 2022, allow someone who does.
There's a in the short term, a risk of a blackout in South Australia, apparently, the fourth straight day in the mid-30s, unseasonably warm weather. What's your advice on that?
Well, I know that the Australian Energy Market Operator is working very closely with the South Australian Government and the key stakeholders here to ensure security of supply. As you know, we've been pretty critical of the energy market situation in South Australia. That previous Weatherall government had to bring in diesel generators as backup. They're expensive, they're polluting, but that was the state of play. So I'm confident that AEMO can manage these difficult issues in South Australia as well as across the national economy.
The 30th news polls come and gone, and you have been included in the mix as a possible leader down the track.
That's a joke.
Well, is it really?
Well, my ambition, right, is very much down the line compared to our concern, collective concern, for the future of the Australian people. And that is what we're focused on. I think Malcolm Turnbull's doing an excellent job in difficult circumstances. The job growth numbers are important and and a very telling sign. The work that we've done around borders, the work that we're doing in energy policy. We've got to rally behind him and the government, and always remember that the alternative to a coalition government is Bill Shorten in the lodge.
But do you think that some of your colleagues don't necessarily are not that fussed about winning the next election? They'd rather have the internal fight? Because there are obviously some grievances that are being aired this week, not the least of which from Barnaby Joyce.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't get a vote in the Liberal Party room, but he seems to like to express some influence on it.
Well, we all have a responsibility to the people who elected us, and they elected us as Liberals and Nationals. And they want to see Australia get the best possible government and the best possible outcomes, and a coalition can deliver that.
When it comes to any leadership heir apparent as well, if you look at yourself, Peter Dutton, Scott Morrison, Julie Bishop, it seems that there's not one individual anyway who is a clear heir apparent. Is that something as well that's helping Mr Turnbull?
Look, no. Malcolm Turnbull was elected by the party room and then elected by the Australian people at the last election. He is doing an outstanding job in challenging circumstances. We've got a very good record. Bill Shorten is a threat to pensioners, to taxpayers.
And the transaction cost of dumping another leader would be too great, wouldn't it?
Well,
is that your view?
We're not changing leader. What we are doing is getting behind Malcolm Turnbull, and the government is going to get on and delivering a good government for the public. But let's not forget what Bill Shorten stands for: greater tax and greater spend.
Okay. And the Frydenberg administration, well down the track.
Good try.